Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to tackle a huge question in cloud security. How in the world do you protect a system that's constantly shifting and changing under your feet? We're diving deep into Lacework, a platform that uses AI to try and answer that very question. We'll figure out what makes it tick and why it's such a big deal in a really crowded market.
So let's just start with a question that probably keeps a lot of engineers up at night. Does it ever feel like your cloud environment is just getting too big, too complex, and that trying to secure it is basically impossible? Yeah? If you're nodding along right now, you are definitely in the right place.
So, here's our game plan. First, we're going to unpack the core problem, the big blind spot in the cloud that Lacework is built to solve. Then, we'll get into the platform itself, its wild AI engine, and what it actually does day to day. After that, we'll see how it stacks up against the competition, before we wrap up with a final verdict. Let's get into it.
All right, first up, the modern cloud's blind spot. You know, it really all boils down to one single thing: the absolute problem of scale.
Think about it. Today's cloud environments are just a fire hose of data, a nonstop flood of logs, events, API calls, network connections, all coming from countless containers in Kubernetes clusters. It is way, way too much for any human team to watch manually. And that creates this huge security blind spot. And this right here gets to the heart of the issue. Your old security playbook, it's pretty much useless here. Traditional tools are looking for known threats, kind of like a security guard with a wanted poster. But in the cloud, the threats are brand new, and the whole landscape changes by the minute. Relying on static rules is like trying to guard a city that completely rebuilds itself every single day. It just doesn't work.
So if the old way is broken, what's the new way? Well, that brings us right to Section 2 and a whole new kind of watchdog. This, my friends, is where Lacework enters the picture.
Now, Lacework fits into a category with a bit of a mouthful of a name, a CNAP, which stands for Cloud Native Application Protection Platform. But the idea behind it is actually pretty simple. It's one single platform that's designed to see everything and protect everything in your cloud, from the second you write the code all the way through to when it's running live, the whole shebang.
And we're talking comprehensive coverage here. Lacework is built for this multi-cloud world we live in. So whether you're on AWS, Azure, GCP, or a mix of all three, it's got you. It plugs right into Kubernetes, your containers, and even your CI/CD pipelines to give you one complete, unified picture of your entire environment. Okay, now for the really cool part. Section 3, how Lacework's AI actually thinks. This is the secret sauce, the beating heart of the platform. It's called the polygraph engine. So instead of looking for things that are already known to be bad, the polygraph AI flips the script. It spends all its time learning what's normal for your specific environment. Think of it like a security guard who's worked in your office building for 20 years. They know everybody, they know who comes and goes, what time they usually show up, which doors they use, so the second something is even a little bit out of the ordinary, they spot it instantly. That's the idea. So how's it do it? It's basically a 5-step process. First, it connects to your cloud accounts. Don't worry, it's read-only access. Second, it starts drinking from that data fire hose we talked about, ingesting all that telemetry. Third, and this is the magic step, the AI builds out a behavioral graph, a baseline of what normal looks like. Fourth, it just watches, constantly looking for any deviation from that baseline. And finally, when it spots one, it doesn't just send a vague alert. No, it tells you the whole story, the attack path, the root cause, everything you need to know. Okay, so we know how it thinks, but what does Lacework actually do? That brings us to Section 4, putting Lacework to work. Let's look at the key capabilities here.
The first pillar is something called Cloud Security Posture Management, or CSPM. The best way to think about this is like preventative care for your cloud. It's all about making sure your environment is configured securely from the ground up, basically locking all the digital doors and windows before a bad guy can even try the handle.
So, what's it looking for? You know, those common but super dangerous mistakes, misconfigured access keys, databases accidentally left open to the internet, or user accounts with way too many permissions. It also automates compliance checks for major standards like PCI and SOC 2, which, believe me, is a huge time saver for any security team.
All right, the second pillar is Cloud Workload Protection, or CWP. Now, if CSPM is about securing the building, then CWP is all about securing what's running inside it. Your actual applications, your containers, your virtual machines.
This is where Lacework is actively scanning your running workloads for known vulnerabilities. You'll see them called CVEs. It's also on the lookout for any malware or weird suspicious processes that might be running inside your containers. This is security for your applications while they're actually in motion.
Okay, Lacework sounds pretty powerful, right? But it's definitely not the only player in this game. So let's move on to Section 5, choosing your Cloud Guardian. Let's see how Lacework stacks up against some other huge names in the space, like Wiz, Prisma Cloud, and Aqua.
Now, what's really interesting when you look at this is that there's no single best tool for everything. Each one has its specialty. That behavioral ML row, that is Lacework's home turf. They are best in class there. But then you look at CIM, that's all about user permissions, and Wiz is the clear leader. And for really deep nitty-gritty runtime and container security, Aqua is phenomenal. It really is about finding the right tool for your specific job.
So let's just boil it down. Here's the crucial point. Lacework's #1 killer strength is its unmatched ability to spot anomalies, the weird stuff, and detect unknown threats using that behavioral analysis engine. If your biggest fear is the unknown unknown, that novel attack that nobody has ever seen before, Lacework is built from the ground up for you. But if your main concern is identity or really hardening container defenses, other tools might be a better fit.
Okay, let's bring it all together. Section 6, the verdict on Lacework. We've seen how it works, we've seen where it fits in the market. Now let's lay out the final pros and cons.
The strengths, as you can probably guess, all circle back to that awesome polygraph engine. You get incredibly powerful AI-based threat detection with fantastic visibility into what's happening at runtime. And because it actually understands what's normal, it slashes the number of false positives, which helps a ton with that alert fatigue we all know and hate. Plus, being agentless makes it pretty easy to get up and running.
But of course, no tool is perfect, right? To give you the full picture, we have to look at its limitations. As we just saw, its identity or CIM features aren't quite as mature as a competitor like Wiz. And for that super deep down container runtime defense, Aqua still has the edge. It's also important to remember it's mainly a detection tool, not a prevention tool. And yeah, the licensing can be a pretty big investment, especially for smaller teams.
And that really sums it all up. Here's the bottom line. Lacework is the absolute best choice for organizations whose #1 priority is advanced cloud threat detection. If your main goal is to find those subtle, weird, anomalous activities that other tools are just going to miss, especially at runtime, then this is where the platform really, truly shines.
And all this leaves us with one final thought to chew on. The entire idea behind Lacework is that the old way of doing security, relying on known signatures, is broken. So I'll leave you with this question. As the attackers get smarter and the threats get more and more sophisticated, is this kind of behavior-based, anomaly-detecting AI not just another option, but maybe the inevitable future of all security?